My pregnant wife cheating for house rights then said it was just a good time, so I changed the locks, sent her to her parents, and filed for divorce fast. Hey, I wanted to share this story because I've never seen anything quite like it before. Her own parents told me to divorce their daughter. I need a sanity check on how I handled everything, posting from mobile, sorry for any weird formatting. So yeah, here's my mess. I'm 32, male, and I'd been married to my wife Melissa, 30, female, for 5 years. From the outside, we had a pretty normal marriage, house, jobs, family, and now a kid on the way. I bought the house 2 years before we got married. The mortgage and deed are solely in my name. Except this wasn't just any pregnancy. It was a high-risk one. We'd already gone through 2 miscarriages, so this baby felt like the miracle we'd been hanging on to. She was 6 months along now, belly clearly showing. Doctor's orders were clear: take it easy, avoid stress, stay healthy. Easy enough, right? I worked full-time, paid the bills, and kept the place running. She stopped working on doctor's advice. I was fine with that. I wanted the baby safe. I'd been grinding at work and handling whatever needed doing at home. The nursery was my quiet project. I built the crib one Saturday morning with a YouTube video paused on my phone and a box of mismatched Allen keys scattered on the floor. The wood smelled clean and new. I folded 3 tiny onesies and lined them on the dresser like trophies. I taped a printout of the sonogram to the wall with blue painter's tape, stepped back, and tried to picture a little person in that crib. I'm not a sentimental guy, but I stood there longer than I'll admit, hands on my hips, thinking, okay, I can do this. I left the Allen key that actually fit on the dresser so I'd remember. I drove Melissa to her OB appointment. The waiting room had the usual stack of outdated magazines and a fish tank that needed cleaning. We went in, did the blood pressure check, answered the routine questions. The doctor looked right at Melissa and said, no heavy activity, no rides, no lifting, no stress. Rest is your friend. I nodded so hard my neck clicked. On the way home, I bought her a smoothie and downloaded a pregnancy tracking app for her. I even set reminders for her vitamins. That night, she was on Instagram, smiling at a guy doing shirtless deadlifts. Now, here's where the cracks started showing. Melissa had always been kind of obsessed with Instagram. I didn't care if my wife scrolled memes or baby pictures. Who does? But her feed started filling up with shirtless dudes, fitness guys, male influencers who clearly spent more time in the gym than in real life. It wasn't just 1 or 2 posts. It was constant. Every time she opened her phone, there was some guy flexing his abs and looking like he belonged in a cologne commercial. At first, I laughed it off. I wasn't going to compete with dudes who dedicated their whole lives to protein shakes and steroids. But it got under my skin. I told her straight, I didn't like it. I didn't like that she was sitting there drooling over these guys while I was busting my ass at work. She brushed it off. It's just scrolling. Everyone does it. It's harmless. Harmless. My ass. You don't get to call it harmless when you're 6 months pregnant with my kid and spending more time staring at strangers online than talking to me. I started noticing the sneaky stuff. VPN, private browsing, a Google Voice number. On their own, none of that was a smoking gun, but together they were red flags that made me pay closer attention. She claimed it was to block ads or keep her data safe. Please. My IT guy at work could smell that lie from a mile away. One day, I noticed she had Google Voice installed. For anyone who doesn't know, that's basically a burner number app. Why the hell did my wife need a burner app? She wasn't running a side hustle. She wasn't selling cars or doing customer service. There was only one reason to have it: to talk to people you don't want your husband to know about. So yeah, I started putting things together. I didn't have full proof yet, but my gut told me things weren't right. Let me paint the picture. Me coming home dead tired after a 10-hour day, walking into the living room, and she's on the couch with her phone angled so I can't see the screen. The second I sit down, she locks it and pretends to watch TV. Classic move. She thought I didn't notice, but I noticed everything. At night, she'd scroll under the blanket, laughing quietly at her phone. You ever lie next to someone who's giggling to themselves while supposedly texting nobody important? Yeah, try doing that when you know damn well you're paying the mortgage, cooking half the dinners, and all you're getting back is her attention pointed at a glowing screen. I kept telling myself not to stress too much because of the pregnancy. The last thing I wanted was a fight that could somehow hurt the baby. But biting my tongue every day was eating me alive. The thing is, I'm not an idiot. When you live with someone for years, you can tell when they're hiding stuff. Melissa started acting more secretive, more defensive. One time, I casually asked, "Who are you texting so much lately?" She snapped back, Why are you always in my business? Can't I talk to my friends without you acting jealous? Friends, huh? Funny how her friends apparently all had male names that didn't ring a bell. At this point, I had three choices. Ignore it and pretend nothing was happening, lose my cool and blow everything up right away, or wait, watch, and catch her slipping. I went with option 3. I didn't want to blow up our lives without knowing the full picture, especially with the baby on the way. But man, it was hard to sit there and act normal while my wife was acting like a single woman with too much time on her hands. She thought she could play games without me noticing. It pushed me to wait, watch, and document until I had something undeniable. One afternoon, she left her phone unlocked on Facebook. The recent searches were right there. Guess what was in them? Random dudes' names. Not family, not co-workers, just guy after guy. And not just that, searches like foreign men for dating and handsome guys to meet. Excuse me, you're 6 months pregnant, married, living off my paycheck, and searching dating groups like you're a free agent. I didn't blow up right then. I was just waiting for the day it all came together. And believe me, it came together way faster than I thought. A couple of weeks later, I got a call at work from my sister Sam. Sam isn't the type to blow things out of proportion. If anything, she's the one telling me to calm down when I overreact about stupid stuff. So when I picked up and she said, hey, you sitting down? I knew immediately it wasn't going to be good. I told her, yeah, I'm sitting in my truck. Just got done with a delivery run. She said, I just saw Melissa. She's at that cafe on Main Street, and she's not alone. My heart dropped, but I played it cool. Who's she with? I asked. Sam hesitated like she didn't even want to say it, then went, some guy. They were sitting real close. She was laughing her head off, and he just touched her belly, like he put his hand on her stomach. Now, let me pause here. That's my kid in there. My baby. I'm the one working overtime, stressing about bills, cooking, making sure Melissa has her stupid cravings satisfied at 11 p.m. when she suddenly needs strawberry ice cream or she'll die. And meanwhile, some random dude is out here rubbing my kid like he's auditioning for Stepdad of the Year. I went silent on the phone for a solid 10 seconds. Then I asked Sam what he looked like. She described him. Tall, dark hair, stupid gym rat muscles, probably thinks protein shakes are a food group. Instantly, I knew who it was, Ryan, the guy I'd seen her messaging, the one with all the emojis and late-night haha, you're so funny texts. Sam asked, do you want me to go over there? I told her no, just leave it. Don't cause a scene. Because I knew Melissa would come home eventually, and I'd rather confront her myself in my house where she couldn't play dumb. Here's what pissed me off most. If Sam hadn't been there by pure chance, I wouldn't have known. Melissa would have come home later acting like nothing happened, probably curled up on the couch, claimed she was tired, and expected me to rub her feet, all while some other guy had his hands on her a couple of hours earlier. So I did a slow loop past the cafe, parked across the street for 10 minutes. I didn't go in. Through the front glass, I could see them in the window seats, her fiddling with that little gold necklace, his chunky watch flashing every time he leaned in. He slid a plate with a croissant toward her, and she broke it in half, laughing at something. That was enough. I took a breath, started the truck, and drove home. I wanted to talk on my turf. Melissa eventually came in like nothing was wrong. She set her purse down, humming to herself, probably thinking she'd pulled off the greatest heist of all time. I asked her casually, so, what did you do today? She paused for half a second. You know that little pause when someone's running through lies in their head? Then she said, oh, just met a friend for coffee. A friend, right? The same friend who happened to look exactly like Ryan, the same friend who was so close he thought my unborn kid was his stress ball. I kept my face straight and said, Sam saw you. She saw you at the cafe with him, laughing, touching everything. And don't you dare deny it because I saw you too. Melissa's eyes went wide for a split second. Then she rolled them and crossed her arms. You're stalking me now? Unbelievable. So what? I was just having a good time. You're overreacting. Oh, okay. So apparently marriage vows now come with a just having a good time clause. My mistake. I told her, you're married. You're 6 months pregnant with my baby. You don't let another man touch your belly, ever. That's not a good time, that's betrayal. She scoffed, said I was controlling, that she deserved to feel good, that I was always at work and didn't pay attention to her. I swear my brain short-circuited for a second. I was literally working my ass off to keep her comfortable and safe, and now she was blaming me because she decided to play house with Ryan. So I laughed. Not a happy laugh, more like a, wow, you really just said that laugh. Then I told her straight, Pack your stuff. You're going to your parents' house. You're not welcome here anymore. She freaked out, yelling about how I was kicking out a pregnant woman like I was some monster, but I didn't budge. Her parents' place was calmer and closer to her OB, and I wasn't going to risk more fights at home. Space was the safest option for the baby. I told her, "You want to play single? Go live like one. This house is for my kid, not for you to disrespect me." Eventually, she realized I wasn't backing down. She called her mom to pick her up, and I watched her leave with her little overnight bag, shooting me dirty looks the whole way. After Melissa left that night, I figured maybe she'd cool off, realize she'd screwed up, and at least try to apologize. Nope. The next morning, I woke up to a text that just said, "I don't understand why you're being so dramatic. Nothing happened." Nothing happened? I'm sorry. Did I hallucinate my sister calling me and describing Ryan's greasy hand on my kid? Maybe I dreamed the whole thing. Yeah, sure. Nothing happened. I didn't even reply. Why waste words? I'd already told her she wasn't welcome here until she got her head straight. I went about my day, went to work, came home to an actually peaceful house. No secret texting, no eye rolls, no fake laughs at her phone, just silence. Later that week, I heard from Sam that Melissa was trying to twist the narrative with her parents. Apparently, she was walking around like she was the victim, telling her mom how controlling I was, how I didn't give her enough attention, blah blah blah. Classic. Her mom, let's call her Mill, called me to hear my side. When I told her what Sam saw, she went quiet for a second. Then she sighed and said, "Melissa, why would you do this? He's working so hard for you and the baby, so at least they weren't completely blind." Her dad, Phil, got on the phone too and said, "Son, you don't deserve that kind of disrespect. If you two can solve it together, it will be better. If not for you, then for the baby." He wasn't making excuses for her. His voice had that tired dad tone, like he'd already had the same talk with her and gotten nowhere. And I'll be real, hearing that from my father-in-law hit different. He was right about one thing. I didn't want to ditch my child. I stepped out to the front steps with the phone still warm in my hand and sat there a minute. The street was quiet, porch light buzzing. Part of me wanted to say, "Forget it, she's gone." Another part kept thinking about a tiny person who didn't ask for any of this. I told Phil, "If there's any chance it won't be talk, it's rules." He said, "Then make rules. We'll back you." I hung up and went straight to the nursery, flipped on the lamp. The crib looked like a clean sheet of paper. I pulled a sticky pad from the dresser and wrote it like a contract. Full phone transparency, passcodes, messages, no secret apps, no contact with Ryan, ever. Location sharing on. Couples counseling weekly. She shows up or we're done. She stays at mom and dad's for now, 30 days minimum. Earns trust back from a distance. Budget is medical, prenatal only, receipts only, no cash. If she lies once, it's over. I snapped a photo of the list, drafted a text to her with the same 7 lines, thumb hovering over send. Then I deleted the draft. I wasn't going to negotiate by text while she was still calling cafe dates a good time. If this happened, it would be face-to-face with her parents sitting right there. Then I did one more thing so I couldn't backslide later, pulled the onesies out and set the sticky note on top in the drawer, right where I'd see it. Closed it slow. I wanted to figure it out for the baby, but only if she acted like a mother and a wife, not a single influencer with a burner number. I took the sticky note and a printed copy of the rules to her parents' living room. Melissa was on the couch scrolling with the volume up, like she was trying to drown out reality. Mill set a glass of water on a coaster. Phil stood by the doorway, arms folded. I said, "If we're going to try it all, it's not talk, it's rules." I set the paper on the coffee table and read them out loud. Melissa snorted. "You're not my boss." She flicked the paper with a fingernail. "What is this, terms and conditions? I'm not signing your little contract." Phil's jaw flexed. At least read it. She didn't. She grabbed the paper, crumpled it, and tossed it next to the plant. Then she laid out rules of her own. Move back that night. Get the keys. $1,500 immediately, and for me to stop being controlling. For what?" I asked. "For me," she said, like that answered anything. "Classes, spa, stuff I need. You owe me comfort." Mill said, "Melissa, sit down." Melissa didn't sit. She reached toward my jacket pocket for my keys like I was a valet. Phil stepped between us and pointed to the armchair. "Enough." I kept my voice flat. "I'm not transferring cash. If you have a medical bill, I'll pay the provider. Send invoices." She rolled her eyes. "I'm your wife. It's our money. Unlock the account. She held her hand out like I was supposed to hand over my phone. When I didn't, she said louder, unlock it. I need $1,500 today. Receipts or no, I said. She barked a laugh. I don't do receipts. I'm pregnant, not an intern. Then she tossed out. And by the way, I'm done with your creepy tracking. I'm not sharing my location with you like I'm a teenager. Phil looked at me. We'll back your rules, he said. Melissa spun on him. Seriously? You're taking his side again? He didn't blink. We're taking the side of the baby, and respect. She turned back to me. Here's how this is going to go. I'm moving back tonight. You're apologizing for humiliating me. You're giving me the keys and $1,500. Or I'll show up anyway. It's my house too. The deed's in my name, I said. I changed the door code. You'll stay with your parents for now. If you need anything, we'll arrange a pickup with them present. I'd already boxed her essentials and told her parents they could pick up anything medical anytime. I wasn't stranding her, just creating space. She gave me a tight smile. Cute, I'll get in. And she looked at Mill. Call him later and make him fix this. Mill didn't move. No. Melissa grabbed the crumpled paper off the table, smoothed it once like she might finally read it, then ripped it clean in half and dropped it back on the wood. There, she said. That's what I think of your rules. I picked up both halves, folded them, and slid them into my pocket. That's what I needed to see. She hissed. You're not going to freeze me out. I'll get the money. I can do transfers. Not anymore, I said. I've already changed every password and two-factor authentication. Try all you want. It'll ping me. Right then, her phone buzzed. She smirked and tilted the screen so I could see the top edge, Ryan's name popping up with a little heart she'd added. Some people still know how to treat me, she said, loud enough for the whole room. Mill closed her eyes. Phil looked like he might put his fist through the drywall. I stood. We're done here. But I told Mill and Phil, if there's a prescription or appointment to pay, call me. Otherwise, don't loop me into drama. I looked at Melissa. You're not coming home under those terms. She followed me to the door, still talking. You act like I'm begging to come back. I have options. People want to spend time with me. You're lucky I'm even giving you a chance. Take your options, I said, and stepped onto the porch. Behind me, she said, and I'm posting. Let people see what you're like. I heard the camera sound. By the time I hit the sidewalk, my phone buzzed. Her Instagram story. Mirror selfie, hand on belly, caption choosing happiness with a white heart. 10 minutes later, another, latte art and a slice of cake, geotagged across town, a man's chunky watch at the edge of the frame. Then one more, her laugh, a low male voice off camera, sticker self-to-care day. I opened my bank app and saw what I expected, 2 failed attempts to add a new Zelle recipient and an insufficient funds transfer request for $1,500 from the skeleton joint account I'd left with $20 for history. I'd already moved our shared savings to an individual account on my attorney's advice. I called the bank anyway. After her failed attempts, I killed the joint online profile completely and asked them to require in-branch ID for any changes. Text codes on every move, I said. The rep said, done. Back home, I set my phone face down and sat in the quiet house. The new code thudded into the lock when I tested it. I walked to the nursery, opened the drawer, and looked at the sticky note with the 7 rules, sitting on top of the folded onesies. I closed it again. She wanted the money, the keys, the house, the apology, everything, without giving a single thing back. Entitlement on full blast. During the weekend, she tried calling me. I picked up just to see what nonsense she'd spit out. Sure enough, she went, "You're overreacting. Ryan's just a friend. You always think the worst of me. I have feelings too. I want to be with some good company." I told her flat. Friends don't touch your stomach like they're checking in on the baby. Friends don't text you all night when your husband's asleep next to you. Friends don't make you hide apps on your phone. Her response, if you gave me more attention, maybe I wouldn't need to talk to other people. I told her, Melissa, you're living in my house on my dime, carrying my kid, and you're out here playing single. Don't blame me for your lack of self-control. And if you think you'll be able to manipulate me for the $1,500, think again. She got quiet for a second, then tried to soften her tone. I love you, you know. At that point, I told her again, you're not welcome back here until you learn what respect means. And I hung up. I dropped a box of her stuff at her parents' place. Mill opened the door with a tight smile. Phil stood behind her, arms folded. I set the box on the carpet by the couch, hoodie, makeup bag, charger. Melissa was on the far end, arms crossed, staring at the TV like it might save her. I told her parents, "Call me if you need anything medical. I'll cover our shared bills. That's it." Then I left. Over the next week, I kept hearing little updates from Mill. Apparently, Melissa was sulking around the house, barely helping with anything, glued to her phone. Shocking. Phil was fed up too. He actually told her, "You need to grow up. You're embarrassing yourself." Anyway, her parents weren't exactly thrilled to have her back. Don't get me wrong, they love their daughter, but even they could tell she'd screwed up big time. I know because Mill called me a few days in, whispering like Melissa might overhear from across the house. She said, "She's being difficult. She keeps saying you're overreacting." But we told her, "You don't treat your husband like that." Phil was less subtle. He told me straight, "Son, you're doing the right thing. She needs to face consequences." So what does Melissa do with this golden opportunity to reflect and maybe apologize? She doubles down. From what Mill told me, she spent most of her days glued to her phone, scrolling and giggling like she was still 15. Helping around the house? Nope. Talking seriously about the baby? Nope. Just zoning out into Ryan's DMs. One night I got a text from Sam. Guess who I just saw walking downtown with her boy toy? Melissa. Yep. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. Walking around with Ryan like they were some happy couple, pregnant belly out front, laughing like she didn't have a husband busting his back to support her. She hadn't blocked me on Instagram. Her story bubble popped up that afternoon, so I tapped it. First clip, a boomerang at the window seats in the cafe, 2 cups on the table, and a guy's forearm with the same chunky watch I'd seen through the glass. Next clip, 5 seconds later, his hand slides across and rests on her arm. She typed "good company" with a white heart. It lined up perfectly with the gap when she'd gone silent on text. The next day, she posted again, "short walk in the park." Sticker that said "fresh air." Same watch at the edge of the frame, her belly front and center. Another set of screenshots went into the legal folder. A couple of days later, Mill called me again, sounding exhausted. She said, "She came home late last night. We asked where she was. She said she was with a friend, but we know who." Phil in the background yelled, "It was that Ryan guy." Apparently there was a huge fight in their house. Phil straight up told Melissa she was disrespecting the whole family. She screamed back that it was her life, and she deserved to be happy. I was just sitting in my house, shaking my head, thinking about how my pregnant wife was living under her parents' roof, sneaking out like a teenager, and embarrassing everyone around her. So remember how Melissa kept telling everyone she was just having a good time? Well, apparently good time didn't stop at cafes and late-night texts. Nope. She decided to level it up. I didn't know this part until later, but here's how it went down. Melissa convinced Ryan to take her to an amusement park. Yeah, let that sink in. She wore a loose, flowy dress. From the front, you couldn't even tell she was 6 months pregnant. 6 months pregnant, high-risk pregnancy. The doctor had literally told her, no stress, no heavy activity, take it easy. And what does she do? She straps herself in for a day of funnel cakes and roller coasters like she's 18 again. Her own Instagram stories and a tagged post from a mutual acquaintance were all the proof anyone needed. There's Melissa in that flowy dress. If you didn't catch the angle, you'd miss the bump, giggling with Ryan like she didn't have a care in the world. From what her parents told me later, Melissa insisted on going on some of the tamer rides first. With the dress hiding her bump, the attendants waved her onto a couple of non-coaster rides despite the posted pregnancy warnings. Ryan, being the genius he is, encouraged her. Come on, live a little, right? Because nothing screams good parenting like telling your pregnant affair partner to ignore doctor's orders for a quick thrill. People were apparently staring at her like she was insane. Once she sat and the lap belt rode high, it became obvious. A few people even told her not to do it. But Melissa just laughed it off. I'll be fine. I deserve to enjoy myself. Deserve. Lady, you deserve to sit your ass down and protect the kid you begged me to work overtime for. Anyway, after a couple of rides, she started feeling sick. Shocker. She sat down, clutching her stomach, and Ryan looked panicked for all of 2 seconds before trying to play it off. Then things got worse. Cramping, bleeding. She was rushed to the hospital. Mill called that night, voice breaking. They're at the hospital. 20 minutes later, the baby was gone. With her history, the doctor said that kind of activity likely contributed. I parked crooked, didn't even lock the truck. The automatic doors blew cold air in my face. At the desk, I said her name, and the nurse printed a visitor sticker without looking up. The hallway smelled like sanitizer and rubber gloves. Her mom was in a chair, crushed into herself. Her father stood behind her like he'd been poured into his shoes. A doctor stepped out, quiet voice, eyes tired. We did what we could. With her history, this kind of activity, it likely contributed. I nodded once. He pushed the door open. Melissa lay under a thin blanket, 4 in her hand, face blotchy. She looked at me like I was a life raft. I'm sorry, she whispered. I wanted to feel normal. It was supposed to be a good time. I didn't move closer. The OB told you no heavy activity. Didn't the ride operator tell you not to get on? Nobody around you warned you? Didn't it cross your mind? She shook her head, tears everywhere. Nah, I said. You didn't think. That's the whole problem. I worked. I did all that I could for the baby and for you. And you went to an amusement park like you were single. My voice came out flat and loud at the same time. A monitor chirped. A nurse peeked in, then backed out. Melissa reached for me. I stepped back. You're not coming home with me, I said. You'll discharge to Mom and Dad's. They can take care of you. I'm done. Phil stared at the floor. Mills started to cry again. I turned to the nurse at the station. Can you list her parents as primary contact? The nurse said Melissa would have to confirm, and Melissa nodded and named them. I walked out past the vending machines, down the quiet elevator, tossed the visitor sticker in the trash on the way to the doors, and didn't look back. She was discharged the next day. Melissa actually texted me after all that, I need you. The notification popped up and I just stared at it. Couldn't believe she had the nerve. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Then my head replayed it all in order. The amusement park story of her in line with Ryan. Belly out, smiling like nothing mattered. Then the hospital. Cold air off the automatic doors. That crinkly visitor sticker on my shirt. The doctor saying with her history, this kind of activity likely contributed. Her whispering it was just a good time. The monitor chirping while she reached for me. And I stepped back. Whatever words I had died right there. I locked the screen, muted the thread, slid the phone in a drawer and walked away. No reply. Now here's the part that really sealed it for me. Guess who didn't even stick around at the hospital? Yep, Ryan. The man who was so happy to touch her belly in public was nowhere to be found when things got serious. According to Mill, he stayed for a couple of minutes. Then said something along the lines of, I didn't sign up for this and left. Blocked her number, ghosted completely. The next morning, I took down the painter's tape with the sonogram. It came off in one slow peel. I placed the printout in a folder with the photos and receipts. I folded the onesies, put them back in the bag they came in, set the bag in the closet. I didn't say anything out loud. I closed the door. I left the Allen key on the dresser. I don't know why. The next few days, I kept getting updates from Mill. She said Melissa wouldn't stop crying, kept saying Ryan ditched her, kept asking why I wasn't there. Mill told her, because you pushed him away. He begged you to stop. You kept on with your fantasy, and now the baby's gone. Everything's gone. Phil couldn't even talk to her. He didn't know what to say to his daughter. All the talk had done nothing, so it wouldn't make any difference now. The bigger shift came when her parents sat me down. Phil called me one evening and asked me to come over. I'll admit I hesitated. I didn't want another round of try to forgive her, she's your wife. But when I got there, it was different. Mill looked exhausted, like she'd aged 10 years in a week. Phil, though, was straight to the point. We think it's time you divorced Melissa. I didn't say anything at first. I think they could see the shock on my face. Then Phil kept going. You've done your part. You worked hard, you provided. You tried to make this marriage work, but she disrespected you. She disrespected herself, and now there's nothing left. You don't owe her anything anymore. Mill nodded, tears in her eyes. You were good to her. We know that. But she ruined it. We'll take care of her financially. You don't need to worry about that. Hearing that from them, her own parents, hit me harder than anything Melissa ever said. They weren't trying to defend her anymore. They weren't making excuses. They were admitting I deserved better and that their daughter wasn't it. Melissa wasn't in the room, but later that night, Mill told me she broke the news to her. Apparently, Melissa didn't even fight it. She just sat there, head down, and said, I know. I booked a 30-minute attorney consult. Plain office, 2 chairs, a legal pad. I laid out everything, the high-risk warnings, the burner app, the messages, the cafe, the amusement park, the hospital. He said, our state doesn't need fault to dissolve, but abandonment of marital duties can matter for negotiations. He gave me a checklist, inventory shared items, Change passwords tied to bills, forward mail, pull statements, keep everything factual, no long texts. I paid the fee and left with a manila folder and a calm I hadn't felt in months. I asked specifically about changing the door code. He said that because the title was in my name, I could require that she stay with her parents temporarily and schedule supervised pickups. We started paperwork the next week. The final decree wouldn't come for a few months. No scenes. Her parents paid the filing fees. Melissa didn't contest anything. No demands for money, no fight over property. She just signed where she had to and kept her head down. I think even she realized she had no ground to stand on. A few months later, courthouse morning was simple. Metal detector, trays for keys, the click of a stapler at a counter, pens on chains. A clerk read our names. Melissa's hair was tied back. She stared at a spot on the floor. I signed, passed the forms back, said thank you to the clerk out of habit. Outside, the sky was plain and bright. I walked to my truck and sat for a minute with both hands on the wheel. After the judge signed and the decree posted a few weeks later, I walked away with no financial ties to her. No obligations, nothing. And that, to me, was the final win. She had destroyed everything, and even her own parents were the ones telling me to move on. Melissa was left with nothing but regret, no baby, no Ryan, no marriage, and parents who saw her as a disappointment. I can't lie. Part of me feels sad for her. She really could have had it all with me, stability, a home, someone who would have had her back no matter what. I was ready to give her everything, to be the guy she could lean on. But in the end, she chose herself. She threw it away. I do hope one day she finds whatever actually works for her. But it won't be with me. As for me, I know I'll find my own path. And this time it'll be with someone who actually values it,